Hey everyone, before we start the show, I just want to get some plugs out of the way. If you enjoy this podcast and you're into wrestling, check out the Nerds and Marks podcast or Marty and Sarah Love Wrestling. If you're not getting your fill on movie and entertainment discussion, then check out the Entertainment Buffet podcast. If you want to dive into the world of video games, I highly recommend the Darkcast by my friends over at darkstation.com. Listen to them cover important topics and interview men and women from all over the industry. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's shelved mini episode. I am your host, Jeremy Meyer, broadcasting from another CarCast. So I don't have a lot to talk about today. Obviously, I didn't get the RoboCop episode up on the weekend like I was going to. I had a very busy weekend. But I am going to be launching a bonus episode the same day as this episode, which is going to be a movie pitch episode. So you should be able to download that at the same time as you're listening to this one. So mini episode, everything is still in the pipeline. RoboCop, probably Star Wars, Return of the Jedi commentary, and then Devil May Cry. Those are probably the next 3 weeks. I'm going to try to get the wife to sit down and watch Star Wars with me this weekend. Something we kept putting off, but I'm going to say, hey, this weekend is the weekend, hopefully. So those are kind of the upcoming weeks. Last night I did watch a new movie from 2017 that I missed, that me and the wife both wanted to see, and wasn't coming to theaters around us apparently, and then all of a sudden just kind of popped up in a small run, the weekend it came out, it was in no theaters around us, and I think it's because it came out on the same weekend as Star Wars. But we watched I, Tonya, about the Tonya Harding story, which I knew about. I knew, the big juicy details, but I didn't know the smaller, minute details of the movie or of the story. And she was really wanting to see the movie. I was interested in it as well, so we finally got a chance to see it. And she was not as big. She was a little disappointed in it just because in the way it was made. It's a movie kind of told from an interview perspective. They cut to, here are the characters modern day giving their interviews about the story. And then, they cut to the flashbacks of what's actually happening. But during the flashbacks, they break the fourth wall and talk to the camera and stuff. And she was not a fan of that. I didn't have a big problem with it. So she ended up being a little disappointed in the movie. But I think overall, this movie is worth seeing just for the performances alone. I thought everybody was very good in the movie. Margot Robbie as Tonya Harding. Sebastian Stan as her husband, there was a lot. So I didn't know her husband was, incredibly abusive to her. And those scenes are super crazy. And, they kind of come out of nowhere. The movie definitely is kind of like a dark comedy because they treat abuse kind of in a funny way of this is what happened, and she's even my mom used to hit me, so I just assumed this is how people love. And they talk about how crazy it is that she was just okay with it, and then when she finally fucking divorces his ass but then keeps going back to him, it's a really twisted family dynamic going on in the movie. And the mom, played by Allison Janney, is that how you say her name? She is great. Honestly, if everybody got nominated for an Academy Award in this movie, I would be totally fine with it. I don't think anybody should win outside of Allison Janney, who played her mom. She is fantastic. She's a terrible, horrible bitch in the movie and is very entertaining in the process. It's a fun movie. It's an entertaining movie. I feel like it's definitely getting looked over. It didn't seem like it did super crazy at the box office, and like I said, it didn't even opening weekend around us at all. The only place we could go see it is if we actually drove into the city in Chicago, and we didn't want to do that just to go see a movie. But it finally opened up in theaters around us over the last week or two. I just finally checked and it's finally playing around us. This movie just seems to have come at an unfortunate time and fallen under unfortunate circumstances, but overall, I think it's good. I think you should check it out, either in the theater or just wait for it on Netflix or something. I think it's very good. it's hard to tell, you know, the true version of the story, as in I don't know if anybody truly knows the true version of the story, but it does a good job of like giving you details about her life and her situation, and pretty much builds sympathy for every character in the movie in some way, shape, or form, except maybe Sebastian Stan's character, who's just a complete piece of shit, and kind of all the other male characters involved with him, who are just like, oh, these are a bunch of idiots, and they're fucking so dumb, and everybody gets what's coming to them, basically. But yeah, it's very good. It's a very much a performance-heavy movie. Like, that's the reason to watch it. As far as, you know, being the kind of movie it is, it's a biopic. You know, it's a standard biopic. You know, they do a little. It's like if a biopic took House of Cards as an inspiration, like, oh, we're going to talk to the camera and stuff like that. And it works, but it's not doing anything new for the genre. It's filmed in a very hand cam, almost documentary style, which to me was a little distracting at points. I also think that during the ice skating scenes, which were really good, I mean, there's very clearly face replacement going on, because obviously she's not going to be doing these Olympic style skating routines. But I mean, you know, it's still good, but if you're looking for it, you can notice it, like, oh, you know, her face, the lighting here maybe is not perfect. But I, Tonya is a very good movie. 2017, another one in the bag. It will not crack my top 10. It was one I wanted to see that I thought maybe, but it's not strong enough to replace anything on there, in my opinion. But okay, so that's going to be pretty much it for today's little mini episode. Still gearing up here for our 1-year anniversary show coming up very soon. I want to do a Q&A. I want to try to go live on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, whatever you think might be the best. Maybe let me know. YouTube, any of that stuff. What's the best place for me to stream that, you know, you guys will want to watch and pay attention to? Should I wait for a weekend when everybody can, you know, hopefully is not working and have more time, or should I do it on the day, which I believe is a weekday? My guess is I should probably do a weekend closest to the anniversary. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's mini episode. If you have any of those questions you want to send in for that, we also accept them in the email or in Twitter. So you can send it to us on Twitter at Shelved Podcast. It's also our Instagram. You can send them there in comments. You can also email us at shelvedfilmpodcast@gmail.com. Send them on in. If you got stuff like, hey, why haven't you talked about this? Are you going to talk about this? How'd you feel about this? What about that movie? You know, whatever you got. What's your fucking favorite song in a movie sung by Neil Patrick Harris or something like that? Like, whatever you got. The more obscure, maybe the better. Or if you want to talk about, like, anything, comics, whatever you got. I'm here. I'm here to listen. But that's going to be it for today's little mini episode. Be sure to check out our bonus episode, also dropping today, where I'm going to pitch you a movie. And I'm not going to tell you what that is. You just have to download the episode and see. But yeah, so be sure to check that out. And we will, for sure, have the RoboCop episode this weekend, so be sure to look for that. Star Wars, I think, will come after that for the Star Wars Return of the Jedi commentary. So be sure to check in on all that stuff. And thank you for listening.